For more on this, we're now joined by spokesperson for the Eastern Cape's MEC of Community Safety, Unathi Binqose. Thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program. I think you're on mute. If you could just unmute.
All right, is it any better, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. One doesn't even know where to start with a story like this. Have we got any answers in terms of the motives for these killings at this stage?
The motive for these killings varies from city to city. Look, they are happening largely in two parts of the province, the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro as well as the OR Tambo district. And it's quite disturbing that the names of these two icons are dragged into these matters because indeed they are happening. If you go to the OR Tambo district, you'll find that they are related to family feuds that date back to a number of years before. And some are related to stock theft. And when you go to the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, you'll find that it's a different story there. The issue of drugs has been punted about in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, and the issue of tenders, because this thing has been long happening in both these two economic hubs of the Eastern Cape. So we are looking at that as the Department of Community Safety. And of course, we are working with our colleagues at the South African Police Services. And we want to commend them for the work that they have done, because in most of these murder cases, they have been able to make some arrests, and we commend them for that.
In the report, just before we started talking, firearms seem to be at the center of all of this violence. Is there a lack of control in trying to manage the inflow of what's probably illegal guns into the province?
Illegal firearms, Peter, have been found to be the major contributing factor in just about all these instances, especially where we've made arrests. They have been found to be the main weapon that has been used. And it will be very difficult for these mass murderers to carry out these mass murders using any other weapon other than a firearm. It is for that reason that the Department of Community Safety, under the leadership of MEC Mthatha, has committed itself that we first need to cut the supply of these illegal firearms. When we are done with that, we have to go for those firearms that are already in the hands of criminals to ensure that we disarm them. If we disarm them, we'll be able to make a significant dent in these mass murders that are becoming a trend in the Eastern Cape. You'd remember that not so long ago, it must have been in October, where we were reporting about a traffic officer who was shot and killed in the very same Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. And that woman was disarmed, and her firearm is still out in the open, and it's possibly in the hands of criminals. And that is something that we are doing. They are taking legal firearms and rendering them illegal because they are taking them from the legal owners and making them their own. So it is incumbent on the Department of Community Safety, and of course working with all its partners within the department, within the province of the Eastern Cape. And I can imagine that it is also a desire of the province of the Eastern Cape to see an end to this, because it would seem as though the criminals are making a mockery of the Eastern Cape government. Because not so long ago, we were reporting about one incident that happened in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, and then days later, a similar incident is happening within the OR Tambo district, in the Kunu area. So we have to double our efforts to ensure that at the very least we disarm the criminals, and if we disarm them, then we may be able to put an end to these mass killings that we are seeing in the Eastern Cape. But most importantly, we also need to make sure that those who are behind these killings get arrested, because that will send a strong message to other would-be mass murderers that if you do this crime, you will get arrested. And we've got all the confidence in our South African police services that they'll be able to crack these cases and arrest the perpetrators and the masterminds behind these mass killings that we're seeing in the Eastern Cape.
All right. Disarming is an important initiative, but likely to take time. In the meantime, what steps are being taken to protect citizens that are living in fear?
The primary objective for us is to make sure that those who are behind these killings, those who are pulling the trigger, and those who are masterminds behind these killings are arrested and are eliminated from our communities so that they do not commit similar crimes. That is our primary focus for now. And I've heard the Minister of Police, Minister Gqeberha, talking strongly about this. But of course, we need to work together as communities, because the reality is that these killings seems to be very, very well organized, and they seem to be very targeted. It's difficult for the police to police them. So it will need communities to work together with the police to put an end to this thing. And we do have a confidence in our communities that when they have fears or suspicions of something like this happening, that they will come out to the police and report these incidents. And we believe that the police will be able to act because we would much rather have people arrested for planning to commit murder than having to chase them after the crime has been committed. And we're working really hard as the province of the Eastern Cape to ensure that we crack these mass murders before they even take place. So we'll work really, really hard to put an end to this, but we'll rely on communities, because police alone cannot put an end to these mass killings. But they are completely unacceptable, and they have to be put to an end, because these are some of the major drivers to the high murder rate that we are seeing in the Eastern Cape. Each quarter, we are reporting about high murder rate in the Eastern Cape. And when you look at, you see that incidents of murders in the Eastern Cape are not as rife. However, what you are seeing is that people are dying in huge numbers in one or two incidents, and we have to work together in putting an end to this.
Mr. Binqose, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us, and we wish you well in this fight against these terrible, terrible crimes. Thanks for your time.
Anytime, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, that's the spokesperson for the Eastern Cape's MEC for Community Safety, Unathi Binqose, talking to us about these mass killings that have been taking place in the Eastern Cape in the last couple of weeks in particular, and pointing to illegal guns that seem to be flowing into the province at this time.